Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Where Work Meets Life. I'm Dr. Laura, and I'm very excited today to bring you an episode about radical empathy, how stressed out leaders can energize themselves and their team. Erin Diehl. I'm going to tell you a bit about this amazing human being that I have on the show today. Erin and I connected as we were part of the same keynote speaking community, and we instantly learned that we had so much in common. We both are entrepreneurs who own our own businesses, and we lead teams. We both are professional speakers. We both have our own podcasts, hers being the Improve It podcast, which I've talked about on past episodes of my show because it's just a wonderful podcast. And we both write. Her latest book, which just came out recently, is I See You, a leader's guide to energizing your team through radical empathy. And I got to tell you, her energy and authenticity is contagious. I love the book, and I hope you enjoy the content of this conversation as much as I have. A few things about Erin Diehl is she's a Business Improv Edutainer, and she is a failfluencer. We'll get her to say what that is in a moment. A professional Zombie. She created a company that helps organizations, leaders, and teams to learn to laugh, learn, play, and grow through the use of improv comedy. So a really interesting angle here. And there's so much I could say about Erin. She has been on her own journey of self-exploration, very authentic. One of her claims to fame is she successfully coerced over 35,000 professionals to do the chicken dance. So, oh my goodness, there's so much to say, but I'd rather pass the mic to Erin to tell us a little bit more about herself.
Oh, thank you, Dr. Laura. I appreciate you. And I'm smiling from ear to ear because I love how we met. I love the community that we were a part of together. And I'm just honored to be here today to give your audience and your people a little laugh maybe, or whatever it is that they might need. Take what you need today and we'll bring you what we've got.
Awesome. So where are you located, first of all? And tell us a bit more about what it is to be a failfluencer and a professional Zombie.
So I'm in Charleston, South Carolina. I used to live in Chicago for 15 years, and you and I were talking about this before we hit record. I manifested this move. This was a dream for me to live by the ocean, to have palm trees literally in my backyard. And my husband and I made that happen in March of 2020, which is coincidentally when I also became a failfluencer and a professional Zombie. I say I'm a failfluencer, and a failfluencer is not an influencer. It's not somebody who's on Amazon, Instagram giving out links to Amazon. This person is a person who fails frequently, and ultimately knows that failing is the fundamental of their success. And so I'm giving out links to self-love and authenticity and just keeping it real and not taking things so seriously. And then my Zombie also happened in 2020 because I was a completely in-person, completely face-to-face professional development company who had to go completely virtual, basically overnight, or what felt like overnight, in order to survive. And so I lived on Zoom constantly. I did improv over Zoom. And so I started to call myself a Zombie just because now I am able to live and work in this hybrid work environment. And I live on the Zoom. So I'm a Zombie. That's what I say. And now I'm on this awesome platform, which I've never been on until today. So it's super cool.
Squadcast, yes. So, Erin, tell us what led you to write this wonderful best-selling book, I See You. How was it birthed?
Well, it's a healing journey. That's how it all began. I truly, and everything starts with 2020, Laura. Okay, we're going back to 2020. 2020 through, I would say actually like 2017 through 2023, 2022 were some of the hardest years of my life. I was living in what I like to call the 3 Ps. And I just call it that because it was a series of 3 Ps. I was pivoting my business over and over again, We probably had about 8 pivots in that time frame, and I was people pleasing, which was a lifelong pattern that just reared its ugly head, because I had just become a new mother. I had a long infertility battle, and I got this miracle baby boy, and so right in the heart of 2020, I was a new parent navigating that, my new identity, navigating this pandemic, and navigating how to please everybody in my life, but the one person I didn't please was myself, which led to pain. And it wasn't just like, ouch, I stubbed my toe type pain, it was chronic pain. And when I finally started to understand that doctors could not diagnose this physical pain, that it was actually emotional pain that I had disassociated from my entire life, I started to heal. And I, in my healing practice, did a lot of meditating, a lot of journaling, therapy, a lot of energy healing. So, Reiki, craniosacral therapy. And in one meditation in particular, I received a message from a deceased family member who took their own life, who told me that I needed to write this book now that I had healed, which was not an overnight thing. This took many, many months, almost a year. But in this moment, this family member said, I want you to write this book. I want you to write this book now, and I'm going to help write it with you. And it was such a spiritual experience from start to finish. I literally feel like I didn't write this book wrote me.
Wow, that is so incredible. And I just feel as I'm embarking on my own book journey, I just feel, wow, I wonder if that would happen with my book. Who knows? But I feel a real calling to write my book about toxic leadership. And you're such an inspiration having written this book. So thank you.
Of course, and, I see a book, listeners can't see this, but I can physically see you, No Ego. Is that Cy Wakeman?
Yes, she's been on my show 3 episodes or 4 episodes, and she's just, yeah, amazing, and I know that she was one of your testimonials on your book.
Yes, and so Toxic Leadership would be an amazing book, and I know she would also give you her glowing accolades for that, but I feel like for that, to flow, I really think you can make that happen. You just have to be willing to ask for it and receive it.
Absolutely. So back to your book. Tell us a bit about who this book is for and how you hope it will help many people in the world.
So, the reason that I feel like I was called to write this book is because I was in such a dark place. I had literally given to everybody else in my life except me. I was the last person who I would give any self care to. I didn't even think that it was productive. I thought rest and self care was lazy. Honestly, I was in such a hustle mentality. And I cracked. I broke, like I physically broke. And so the family member who I received the meditation message from took their own life due to a similar circumstance. And so for me, this book is for anybody, a leader of a family, a leader of a team, a leader of a community, an association, an organization who feels like they're going and going and going and giving and giving and giving, but they haven't taken the time to give to themselves. They haven't had a moment in their day for self reflection or even thought about what their ideal day would look like. And it's a book for the person who wants to come home to who they really are. And through that love of themselves, can give more to others and can attract and magnetize the people, the organizations, the teams, the things they want in their life. So it's really for anyone who feels burnt out, stressed, or as if they don't matter.
Right. So it's for busy leaders, overloaded, overwhelmed, stressed out, and even burnt out leaders, managers, etc. And they can be across, industries, organizations, or even in families or communities.
Yes.
Beautiful. So a wide reach. And what I loved about the book is there's a lot of exercises and activities in it that you can do for your own self-reflection. So with your journal, for example, with your own self internally. And then there's things that you can do with a team and very creative exercises, activities to really connect deeply and support people and help them through to grow and to thrive. Did I explain that how you would?
You did it so well. I was like, "Wow, that is so nice." And I appreciate you saying that because that was really important to me as writing it. It was I wanted it to be tangible. I wanted people to have something they could do by themselves or they could take to their team. And there is a resource guidebook that is completely free that is it's literally like 60 pages. So you can it's a fillable PDF where you can actually do the activities and write in some journal prompts and answer the questions and take it and print it or just keep it on your desktop or on your phone. That was really important to me because when I as a reader myself, like I love books that like make me think out loud and that's what I wanted this to be.
Yeah, and it's a book that it'll go on my shelf where all my guests' books go. But it'll be a book that I can reference, even in working with my own team or the work that I do with organizations. So that's very generous of you to provide a whole, accompanying guidebook. That, is amazing.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. Originally, I was gonna monetize it, and then I was like, "No, it doesn't make sense," because the reason I wrote this was to serve, and if I'm monetizing it, it doesn't feel as in service. And so it's big. It's a 60-page PDF. Like, it's a big document, but I wanted people to have that to go back to and to actually do the activities because the books that have changed my life, I've done the activities, and that's what I wanted this to be.
Beautiful. And it's on Audible too, is that correct?
Mhm.
And is it you narrating it on Audible?
It is, and I left you some Easter eggs in there, okay? There's some funny characters and voices, and it was fun. That was actually really fun to do.
So from being an improv, expert, you are good at different voices and characterizations and all of that, and that comes through in the Audible?
I wouldn't say it's, like, the main focus. There's a couple of times it happens, but, um, yeah, it's pretty animated.
Awesome, and you're so full of energy, and people say that I'm full of energy too, and I think that we just, push ourselves through so much, and I've been a lot like you, in my past with rest is lazy, relaxation is lazy, go, 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 and I've just had a tremendous amount of energy for sure to do all the things I do, but as I age and get closer to 50, I noticed that you have to restore and your energy reserves so much more often.
Oh my gosh, amen.
Yeah, it just you have to, otherwise, you'll crash. There's no doubt about it. And the mind body connection is so strong.
So strong. Like, I could talk about that forever, and I didn't have awareness of that until my healing journey. I really didn't understand it, and it's so crazy how our thoughts really affect every cell in our body, and I'll tell you this, I had chronic back pain, like shoulder pain and back pain that was so tight, like, I would literally, like, cry myself to sleep at night because I was just so frustrated, and I couldn't find it. I took every ergonomic chair on Amazon into my office, I tried all the things, all the pillows, and went to all the doctors, and no one could say, like, "This is wrong," and I finally realized it was just my own mental emotions and my own mental thoughts that were really stagnating me, and I had not dealt with a lot of things. So I called it like the Marie Kondo of my mind. I like it. If no one knows who Marie Kondo is, she's this amazing woman who organized homes. She has a Netflix show. She'll go into your home. She'll declutter your room. She'll ask you to throw away what no longer sparks joy, tell it thank you, and then reorganize. And that was what I had to do with my emotional clutter. I had to go in, take out different components of what was no longer serving me, tell it thank you, and then reorganize my thoughts in my mind. And that took a long time, but as soon as that healing took place and I started to understand my life, and I said, I have a new set of 3 Ps, and I called it the 3 Ps remix. And it was this life filled with purpose, which I now know my assignment. It is a life filled with priorities, and I'm very clear on what those are. And it was a life filled with peace. Like I literally found inner peace, which I'm 41 years old. I've never had that in my entire existence on this earth. That's when my pain went away. And it rears its ugly head too when I'm not in that alignment.
Because you're a human being. I'm sure you fall out of alignment at times. You run your own business. There's ups and downs, aren't there? Curveballs.
I mean, I'm talking about I wrote this book to help people going through this, right? And then I go on a month bender book tour and I get home last week and I am so physically depleted. My back pain came back, honestly, because that's where I hold my stress. And I had to do some moments in meditation and journaling, and I got a massage, and I realized, like, again, I'm just holding too much. I'm care my it's interesting, like the spirituality of the body part too. Like every ailment and pain has some type of spiritual connection. And so your shoulders are obviously like where you carry weight and where you carry things. And so I was just carrying too much and I needed to put so many things down. And sometimes you can take other people's energy on if you're an extreme empath, which I am. And so I had to really like, again, go through what I know how to do. And I'm so glad I have the tools because this could have easily been another sort of regression into pain, but it's gone.
Awesome. That's so good to hear you were able to pick yourself back up from that. And you mentioned in your podcast where you talked about your book how Gabor Mate's book When the Body Says No was just super impactful. So I just want to do a shout out to that and how the last chapter in particular is where you picked up that book. Is that true?
Yeah. Yeah. I was kind of guided to that book actually. Somebody told me to read it and I mean, it was like light bulbs just went off in my brain as I was reading the last chapter on a plane coming back from a keynote, which by the way was like a horrible keynote. It was like the worst keynote of my life. And I was on a red eye flight home and I just sat on that plane and I sobbed like ugly Kim Kardashian cry tears. And the person next to me was like, what is happening? And I was like, I know why I have pain. I'm mad. And then so it was like this wide opening for me. And that book led to so many other fascinating reads and documentaries about mind body connection. I have lists of them for people who are interested, but that was like the gateway. And I just spent so much time researching it and studying it and I'm so grateful that I don't wish the pain on anybody, but I'm glad I had to go through that to know that now.
Wonderful. So I see a lot of managers and leaders in my business and my work, whether it's coaching, consulting, speaking, the levels of stress, overload, and burnout are really, really concerning. So, from your perspective, and maybe you can highlight a couple of things from the book, what are the fundamentals leaders need to build back their energy and joy? So, just a few nuggets for us.
Well, it's an assessment of first of all, where are you? Where are your energetic levels? And who around you I heard this the other day. This isn't in the book, but this is a recent revelation. Who in your life is a treadmill? Who gives you energy like you just got off a treadmill? Or who in your life is a couch? Who makes you want to lay on the couch, right? Like where are you taking energy from? And for me, that's why the very first part of the book is all about self-love because if you don't have love for yourself, if you haven't filled your cup, you cannot pour into other people. It's all the cliche sayings. But there's so many activities in the first part of the book that get you really specific and intentional on how you want your days to run. There's a whole chapter called Yes and Your AMs, all about how to set up your morning. There's another activity throughout the first part of the book called Your Ideal Day, which helps you envision and understand what your ideal day could look like. Because if you have no intention behind how you want your day to look, it can run itself. So either you can run the day with intention or it can run you. Um, and here's a perfect example of that, Laura. You and I, before we hit record, I was telling you about my computer problems. I had massive computer problems yesterday. My computer shut down in the middle of a client presentation. I woke up today and I set the intention this morning with my ideal day that my day is going to go with ease and grace and peace, and that everything is going to work out. I had an hour-long call with my IT team. He almost was like, "We're gonna have to get a new computer." And then he goes, "Wait, let's try one more thing." That one more thing worked. My computer is seamless. It's up and running. I was here at 11 AM because I thought our podcast was at 11 AM, but I was prepared and ready. And I feel like the day is flowing because I've set it intentionally how I want it to go. Because if I'm here and ready to go, I can lead others, but I can't do that if I'm all over the place.
Exactly. Right. So it's starting with yourself. It's from the inside out. Right. So I imagine you start each day with meditation and mindfulness.
I do. And I know, a lot of people are like, "I've tried it and it doesn't work for me." But we can all, like, my best friend, she is somebody who literally said, "You wrote this book for me." And I go, "I did. I thought of you in every word," because I want her to realize that she has the capability to meditate, to be mindful. You just have to give it time. You have to block it out. And you have to be intentional with that time and just get rid of distractions. And when you actually sit with yourself in quiet and silence, you will learn more than reading any book. You will learn more than going to any professional. You have the answers. You just have to have the willingness to listen.
That's so resonating with me. That quiet time. And when you're a type A and go, 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 that quiet time feels like you're wasting energy away from tasks. But the answers are within you, and consciousness is real. The connection and consciousness of humans.
Gosh, you're so right. And it took me a really long time to learn how to do that. And I started mindfulness work through my infertility journey. I have a miracle baby boy after many years of science. But I realized that the universe wasn't going to allow me to be a mother because I didn't know how to mother myself. So I had to really learn how to do that. I had no tools. I had never been to therapy. I had never I'd never taken time, and I love my family. I have amazing parents, but I was raised in an anxious home and I did not have tools, emotional tools. And I have, through a spiritual practice and a meditative practice and through many healers, like, people like you, I have really gotten to myself to a place of I can soothe myself. I now have those tools. And in order to do the soothing for my child, I have to do that for me first.
Absolutely. So true. Now, how old is your little guy now?
He is almost 5, which is wild.
And how's he doing?
He is thriving. He's 4.5 going on 14, and, I always joke, my mom said, "I hope you have a little girl," 'cause I was, very vocal, maybe a little sassy, and she goes, "I hope you have a little girl just so you can see what it was like." And I got the male version of me, and, it's like looking in a mirror, and I tell my mom on a daily basis, I'm sorry, okay?" Um, but no, he's wonderful, and he's testing, but also just super kind. And his soul is so good. He has such a good heart. And I'm really proud of that.
That is so wonderful. So, back to the book, is there any other piece of it that's really resonating with people or that you've found really stands out in the feedback so far?
That's a really great question. And I love you for asking me these amazing questions. So it's really interesting to me who resonates with what, because I talk about my infertility journey a little bit in the book, and people who are going through that have reached out. People who are stressed and needed new tools have reached out. People who have been senior leaders and have been, leading teams for years have told me, I didn't think there was anything else I could learn. Oh, but then I got to the end, to the core values section, and I was like, what? And that blew me away. Every reader that I've spoken to, at this point, I have a relationship with. I haven't heard from anybody I don't know yet, which I'm interested to hear an outsider's perspective. Everyone has something that sticks with them because they needed that message. And um, those are the highlights that come to mind right now. But I wrote it for every human being who feels flawed. There's like something you can relate. We're all flawed. So everyone can relate to something, but it's a take what you need scenario. And I think I wanted this book to be on the bookshelf so you can pull it down when you're having a bad day and have a resource.
Mhm. And I would say that the self-love, the selfless leadership, and then doing both, your self-love as a leader and then being a selfless leader leads to a magnetic culture. So I thought that was a really great, sequence and segue in your book because I'm seeing way too many toxic cultures out there. I'm seeing cultures that are run by major egos, and the ego is the opposite of selfless. Ego is on one extreme, selfless is on the other. And self-love, I think there's a huge difference between self-love from a humble perspective. I'm a flawed human being, but I still love myself. And self-love from a major egomaniac perspective. I love myself. I'm the best.
That's it. That is it. And truly, that is the message of the book is love. It's bringing love back to work, communities, yourself. And I really think you have to write this book, Laura, because it is such a good it is so hard to watch people stay in toxic environments. And that's like one of the stories I even talk about in mine is that I had a very toxic leader before I met my case study of selfless leadership, Jen D'Angelo, who was my former boss. That toxic leader made me feel horrible about myself inside and outside of work. It spilled over into everything. My mental health, my physical health suffered at that job. And I was only in it a year and a half because I called this person Chad. Chad was trying to climb the corporate ladder and didn't care who he had to climb over on the way to the top. And then when I found my former boss, Jen, who pulled me out of that job, I always say she like dug her ladder into my shame hole and pulled me out rung by rung up the ladder of empathy and showed me how amazing I could be at the job that I was doing, which was business development, who believed in me, who played on my strengths and just saw my weaknesses as what they were, but played to who I was as a human. And I stayed with her for 5 years.
Beautiful. And we can all strive to be the Jen type of leader, or we can let our egos get in the way. And my project on toxic bosses, I don't call them toxic leaders. I call them toxic bosses because they don't deserve leader in their title. But I just see it as a huge, huge problem. So I actually have two books in me about it, one for individuals to navigate it and one for organizations to eradicate it.
I love it. And I can't wait to read it. And you have to write it. And I think you'll know when the time is right to just sit down and write. RIGHT to RITE.
RITE. the right. I like, yeah, how you got up early. You got up before the family and wrote with a candle. So that's on my mind to start ASAP.
Yes, do it. And I that was important to me. And I know we touched on spirituality a little bit, but I took a course from a spiritual coach who I've been listening to for years, Gabby Bernstein. It's called the Bestseller Masterclass. And it was a course about how to write a bestseller. I had never written a book in my life. I've like wouldn't even called myself a writer before this. And that her approach, she's written 9 New York Times best-selling books. And her approach was always coming at it from this really peaceful place. I knew I wanted this to be a joyful experience. I didn't wanna, like, I see some authors, like, posting on Instagram with their notes everywhere, and it looks so chaotic, and I'm like, that's it doesn't have to be that way. It can just be a act of service for yourself, but you're giving it to the world.
I love that. That's the way that I'm looking at this as well. It's a calling to do it. And I do want to make a difference through it.
You will, and you are. You already are. You're already manifesting it. It's happening. 2025, it's gonna be written, and I think we're gonna release in early 2026.
Okay. I'm actually hoping to write it in 2024. So I hope you're wrong.
Okay. Okay. Well, I was thinking you get it done by 25, then you gotta get the publishing going, and okay, we're gonna say end of 25, she's out.
It's going to come into the world in 2025, people. I'm saying that, unless some circumstance prevents that beyond my control. All right.
You're doing it.
So here's a few questions I ask all my guests. What does work-life wellness mean to you, Erin, and how does it play out in your life?
Yeah, work-life wellness means freedom to me. And I don't even that just, like, flew out of my mouth. I did not think of that. Work-life wellness means I have freedom to choose how to run my day. I have freedom to prioritize the things in my life that matter the most. I have financial freedom because I'm serving the people that I'm here to serve. And when I think of wellness, it's incorporating balance, breaks, and boundaries in my day. I like alliteration. Those are my 3 Bs.
Balance, breaks, and boundaries. That is awesome. The 3 Bs. Love it.
And that's a whole other story, but I had a concussion this summer that, yeah, led me to really walk my walk, not just talk my talk. And so I incorporate breaks in my day now. I do a 10-minute meditation in the middle of the day. I make sure I get out and walk around the block at least once. I used to, Laura, like I would sit at my desk and keep going, even if I was going to pee my pants. Like I was like, oh, gotta get this email out. It was so stupid. And I realized like I have freedom as a human to live and make my day joyful.
Absolutely. Each day is a gift, and it's all we really have. We don't know about tomorrow. Tomorrow's a mystery, and yesterday's history. So let's stop living in the past.
That's right. Yes.
I lost a dear friend from suicide as well, like your family member, and she was 39 years old, and that was in a journal she gave me at one point. And she did a lot of recovery work and work on her mental health and addiction, and she really became more and more mindful and stuff, but it just reached a point where she couldn't fight it anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you should add that in your book and quote her.
Absolutely. My next question is, what do you read or listen to for your own growth and development? And I know it's probably a lot of things, but what maybe one podcast and one book that comes to your mind immediately that you want to share?
Yeah. Okay. So again, I'm going to say Gabby Bernstein because I just love her. And she has an app that is literally like on demand. So if I need, some type of stress relief or anxiety relief, or I need a quick meditation, I go to that app many times a day, and I've followed her for years, and I'm manifesting meeting her in 2024. So Gabby, we're going to meet. That's happening. And then book, oh man, I mean, I'll just say it because I've read this one so many times, The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron. It's just one of my favorites. And if you haven't read it, it's such a wonderful tool. And it's not like a book you read start to finish. You read one chapter a week at a time and do the activities. So just it is all about uncovering creative blocks, and it was meant for writers, but it can be applied to anybody in any occupation.
I love that. Love that. I'm going to actually write that down. The Artist's Way.
Yes, it is an old book. Like, it's been around years, and she keeps, like, revising it. And she's got various, like, there's The Artist's Way for kids, which I've read as well, but The Artist's Way is so good.
Beautiful. What would you do if you didn't need to sleep and you could use that extra time to do whatever else you wanted in this world?
Oh, God, great question. Probably play with my son a lot more, which is, I should try to do. It is a hard job to balance being a working parent, especially a working parent from home and who has to travel. So I would play with him. I would make that like 8 hours of quality something time.
And I'm sure there are days when you can do that, but I would say even 1 or 2 hours of quality time is amazing.
That's it. Yes,
Quality, not quantity sometimes. We're too hard on ourselves.
that's right.
And my oldest is 18 now, and he's coming back from his first year of university soon, and very excited to have him back. But yeah, it's amazing. Every age is amazing, but I really like him as an adult. And he's a mini version of me as well.
Oh, how many kids do you have?
We have 3. So we have a 16-year-old boy as well and a 13-year-old daughter.
You are doing it. You are amazing. I give you so much love. And you do all of the things. So I know it's not easy, and I also know that it is a sacrifice for yourself to go away from the family, but what a wonderful thing for them to see you thriving and doing work that helps people.
Yeah, I went through years of guilt, like feeling, oh my gosh, I'm working too much. I started my own business when, I had little kids. My daughter was born the year after I started my business. So it's just, the constant guilt. Should I have been at home more and this and that? But I think that, mommy guilt, you got to use it or lose it. You got to, use it to figure out, well, how can I spend pockets of quality time at least, even if it's not full days? And yeah, I just wouldn't have been good full time at home. I don't think. I'm too impatient.
Me too. I actually say that as well. It's hard. Jackson, I had my business, I think 5, 6 years when he was born. And I really believe that I'm a better mom because I am able to do the work I love. And I do love it. Like, if I didn't love it, I wouldn't do it. You know what I mean? And it is the guilt though. And I have had to lose it. I've learned to lose it, actually. I had a lot of it though in the beginning. A lot.
Me too. So my final question is, if you had one wish for a better world, what would it be?
Mm. Everyone to love everyone. Just people to celebrate differences and to understand that we're all connected as one, and we create these pockets of exclusion in our world that I think aren't necessary. And the goal is to get to be here to learn to love and to learn the lessons that we're supposed to learn here on this earth, and we don't have to ostracize or challenge anybody else's lessons. We just need to be here loving ourselves and giving that love outwardly.
Beautifully put. Well, thank you so much, Erin. I think we covered a lot of ground in this episode about leadership, self-love, self-care, spirituality in our lives as human beings, but also as leaders. And we talked about your book. So I highly recommend your book. Use the link in my show notes to order I See You. And that way it contributes towards the podcast continuing to thrive. So please order your copy. And thank you so much, Erin, for your time, your energy, and your authenticity.
Oh my gosh. Thank you. You're amazing. It was an honor to be here. And we'll see you on the Improve It podcast soon. You're coming on our show.
I would love that. Anyway, stay well, everyone. Thank you for tuning into this episode of Where Work Meets Life. If you found this content valuable, please rate and review the episode and share with others who may benefit. Visit me on my website at drlaura.live and sign up for my monthly e-newsletter full of tips and resources. I'm also a passionate keynote speaker and would be delighted to speak with you on your speaking needs. Stay well.